Namaste, hello everyone. Welcome again to my NPTEL course on interior design. We are at the lecture number 24 today, and we are still talking about green interiors, and we are going to focus today on policies and incentives. Also, we'll discuss about materials, finishes, and some credits related to these. So, we are going to talk about recycled content when we focus on materials and finishes within the green interiors policies, incentives. We are also going to talk a bit about the sustainable development goals, the SDGs, and we will talk about renewable materials. We'll see water savings. What are some other criteria that contribute to designating an interior design project as green interiors, and what are the policies related to that? And we will of course see some references. So when we talk about policies and incentives, sources involved in drafting the policies say green buildings will be incentivized based on benchmarks prescribed by green building certification systems. And we did talk about these certification systems in the beginning of this module on green interiors this week that we are focusing on. So there is lead commercial interiors, which we have been particularly focusing on. Of course, IGBC, Griha. There is also excellence in design for greater efficiencies. So these kinds of certification systems are already there, and they do set up some benchmarks, and accordingly, the incentivization of a green building or a recognized project is done. So green buildings having a 5-star or platinum rating would get a 10% discount in property tax for 3 years. Now, these are the kinds of incentives that have been put forth so that people take this, importance about green buildings and environmental concerns very seriously. Similarly, it will be 7.5% for buildings with 4-star or gold rating, and 5% for 3-star or silver rated properties. So these are the kinds of caps that have been put up. The incentive will continue after 3 years if the structure follows the green building rating or certification. So there is further incentivization, and it does create, an opportunity and eagerness and keenness amongst the users as well as the designers, to get their projects rated in terms of these certification, also be responsible towards environment, and then get some kinds of tax benefits and other kinds of incentivization. The stamp duty will also be reduced by 1% on purchase of apartments in green certified projects. So that's another incentive. The government will further reduce taxes and charges on purchase of green buildings. Environmental clearances for such structures will also be fast tracked. So, these are all very interesting aspects when we talk about green buildings, policies, incentivization by the government, how the entire system and all the benefits work, focusing on green interior design projects, green interior architecture projects. Then there are some sustainable development goals, and within that, some of them are very key and relevant to architects, especially designers, interior designers, construction companies. So there are 17 SDGs in all when we talk about a global level. And if we talk about also, at a local level, let's say for Uttarakhand, also there is a set of SDGs and there is a vision document. So we are definitely talking about global concerns, but it's also our responsibility to look at regional and local concerns. So there are some key SDGs which are relevant to our profession, and we can really be responsible and take care of these through our designs. So starting with the SDG 7, which says ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. This goal emphasizes the importance of designing energy efficient buildings and incorporating renewable energy sources such as solar panels or wind turbines. Then there is SDG 9, and it focuses on build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. So, this is the focus of this sustainable development goal. This goal highlights the need for innovative building materials and construction techniques that is of relevance and importance to us, as professionals and learners of this course and this profession, that minimize environmental impacts and enhance resilience to climate change and other shocks. There is SDG 11, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Very important keywords that I have highlighted here. This goal focuses on the role of architects, interior designers, and construction companies in creating sustainable urban environments and promote well being, equity, and environmental quality. So, this is an important goal. There is SDG 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. This goal emphasizes the importance of selecting sustainable materials, reducing waste, and minimizing the environmental impact of construction processes. So, very, very relevant for us and very crucial, to focus on this and learn how we could achieve this through our design sensibilities and by taking proper decisions on and off site, concentrating on interior design projects. There is SDG 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. This goal underscores the urgent need for the design and construction industries to adopt climate responsive strategies such as energy efficiency, passive design, low carbon materials. These strategies help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase resilience to climate change impacts. There is SDG 15, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation and biodiversity loss. It's a very, very elaborate, comprehensive, and crucial SDG. This goal highlights the importance of preserving and enhancing biodiversity and natural ecosystems in the built environment. This goal can be achieved through thoughtful site selection, landscape design, and the use of native plants and materials. So, we have been talking about all of these aspects in one or the other lecture and looking through the lens of sustainability, circularity, and responsible consumption. We can, try to integrate and incorporate all of these aspects through our designs. By focusing on these critical SDGs, architects, interior designers, and construction companies can make a meaningful contribution to global sustainability efforts while creating built environments that are healthy, resilient, and adaptable to changing conditions. So, these are surely policy level decisions at a global level, but small steps at local, regional, national, global, all sorts of levels and in different capacities can really, help in achieving great results. So these are like ripple effects and they contribute to a larger picture. Design for energy efficiency. Architects and interior designers can do a lot to improve a building's energy efficiency, mainly by reducing the amount of energy needed for heating, lighting, running appliances, and by providing renewable, non carbon based energy to the building. Now, this is very, very crucial. We must try to reduce the amount of energy needed for heating, lighting, running appliances, all of that. So, heating and lighting are the two most crucial factors interior designers have influence over. Since most of the building's heat escapes through windows, it is important that the installed windows are of high quality and provide good insulation. So, in the previous lecture, we did talk about VLT, SHGC, U value. So, all that understanding, daylight and daylight factor, etc., that can be applied when we design and we talk about these kinds of important aspects related to heating and lighting. Curtains and drapes keep both cold air and the sun's heat outside. Window coverings, blinds, and shades enable residents to control the building's temperature in an energy efficient way by opening and shutting them as needed. So, these are all very, very important rules and parameters that, especially interior designers can follow and bring to table while designing projects and, designing spaces. Carpets are excellent thermal insulators. According to estimations, a carpet retains as much as 10% of a room's heat. So, we have been talking about fabrics and furnishings, and they are not merely for decor, but we see several other functions and very important ones. Installing home automation and green gadgets makes it possible to control heating and lighting systems remotely as well. So technology is already there, for helping us. To save energy spent on lighting, a lot can be done just by picking the right colors. And we have talked about interrelationship between colors and lights and lighting. Lighter colors reflect more light, while rooms with darker walls and furnishings need more artificial lighting. Using reflective surfaces increases the amount of light in a room by bouncing it around, decreasing dependence on artificial lighting. So, these are all very, very important aspects, you know, which are also emphasized in different policy related documents and directly contribute in, getting your project designated as green and getting certification. This also helps residents and occupants to use the building's energy more efficiently and economically. Now, designing for low environmental impact, that's very important, and a lot of policy documents and our own understanding as designers, you know, guides us to follow this direction. From a sustainability perspective, it is very important to pick materials and products with the lowest environmental impact. Organic materials, they seem the obvious choice, but we must not forget that natural resources need to be treated responsibly. Choose materials that are quickly renewable, such as fast growing bamboo, and are extracted in an environmentally responsible way. So, we have been talking about ecologically growing trees, fast growing, replenishable materials and which are organic, which have low chemicals and toxic material and toxic chemicals. So we can put all that understanding and knowledge to use when we are designing. There are labels, standards, and certifications that give credible information about the product's origin and help in identifying eco friendly products. So, we already have a lot of benchmarks and a lot of standards and agencies and policy documents and uh, market established standards that can help us identify whether a product is eco friendly or not, organic or not, less harmful to the environment or not. Designing for waste reduction. Interior designers have a lot of power in their hands when it comes to waste reduction, and at the same time, a big responsibility to act sustainably. The planet's resources are limited, so the mentality of discarding products and replacing them with those that are currently trendy is no longer justifiable. We must try to, use the materials and resources very judiciously. Now, design for longevity and flexibility. To prevent materials and products getting discarded too often, interior designers should consider the lifespan of any materials they plan to use, especially for those elements that experience wear and tear, such as flooring. The goal of designing for longevity is to design durable and timeless spaces and suppress the urge to change the whole design every couple of years. Now, as far as interior design industry is concerned, of course, the designers are, sought, and their ideas are sought to have changing designs, to have a change of mood and space every few years. And there is a clientele base who would ask you to do that. So, of course, it's an individual's choice, it's a clientele's demand, but we must, you know, as a collective um, group or community who is focusing on sustainability and responsible designs, we should try to suppress this urge of, changing the design every 2 years or every single year, and just for the heck of having something new. So we have to take a decision based on actually what is the requirement on the site, and if there is some kind of maintenance required or some kind of real repairs required. The best way to achieve timelessness is to choose quality over quantity, classics over some temporary fads, and simplicity functionality over only embellishments. Innovation has brought many options for achieving flexible designs, and we are going to talk about portability, modularity, circularity, DIY, and lots of concepts which are related to achieving flexibility through designs. And we can make them, important tools and media for achieving interesting designs which are innovative, sustainable, and which put less burden on, the space and different resources associated while designing that space. Walls that can be modified to create more spaces. So that's one example of flexibility in design. Adjustable and mobile furniture that can be reassembled to fit the needs of the flexible modern workplaces. Modular flooring that allows personalization, easy replacement of individual pieces, and much more. So, there are a lot of innovations which could aid in providing flexibility in space, and cater to adjustments and multifunctionality. Design for healthy environments. People spend most of their time indoors, in offices, schools, at home. This is very important, and I always make this point, during my classes and discussions, that why we need to focus on interiors, on indoor spaces, and why do we need to also talk at micro level and not only at macro level, such as urban design. Because we spend most of our time indoors, and it's very important that we design our interiors and indoor spaces keeping in mind the health and well being of the users. Considering the health of an environment, and we have talked about indoor air quality, indoor environment quality, and we are going to talk more about it in subsequent lectures also, should be at the top of the interior designer's priority list. There are several factors to keep in mind when trying to design healthy spaces, such as the quality of the air, heating, ventilation, lighting, acoustics. So, all of these are important not only for sensory experiences and psychological reasons, but very much for well being, functionality related aspects, and as a feel good factor also. According to the US Environmental Protection Agency, indoor air pollution is one of the five biggest environmental threats to public health. Indoor air pollution is the result of products and materials with high levels of toxic emissions. Furniture or equipment that has been treated with harmful chemicals releases dangerous toxins in the air. So, it is very important that we design responsibly and we pick and choose materials responsibly, and we focus on less harm to the environment and on the well being of the users. Designers should look for materials with low emissions of VOC, volatile organic compounds, and other air pollutants. Now, talking about materials and sustainability. So, these are very, very important areas of focus when we talk about policy level decisions, and the policies and the documents, they reflect on, the important concentration on materials and how they directly, contribute in achieving sustainability. So there is this credit that focuses on recycled content, and the intent behind this is minimize the use of raw materials. Materials having recycled content should comprise at least 10% of the total material cost. And of course, there are extra points for 20% and 30% and more. There are two types of recycled content, broadly speaking. There is post industrial, or is it pre consumer? Same thing. Process waste from an industry, for example, fly ash. That is the example of post industrial. And the other one is post consumer. Waste from households, for example, plastic bottles, aluminium cans. Now, when we talk about pre consumer versus post consumer recycled content, there is this interesting illustration, and it helps us understand, these aspects, and especially focusing on the case of scrap steel. So, the steel sheets are processed for door manufacturing, scrap is generated. Now, at this stage, the pre consumer recycling, scrap steel is sold to a hand tool manufacturer. Hand tool manufacturer generates steel scrap again, which joins this cycle later. And here, when we are talking about steel sheets, they are processed for door manufacturing, and then this steel door is installed at a building site. Then there are post consumer recycling involved here. Steel is collected from a demolition site and diverted from a landfill. Now, next, in this cycle, the steel is sold to a recycling plant. The steel is melted in furnace and rolled into sheets to be sold for new products. A company purchases the steel to make steel doors, and so on. So, this cycle continues, and there are pre consumer recycling involved here and post consumer recycling. And here, at this pre consumer recycling stage, where this hand tool manufacturer generates steel scrap, it again is, sold to a recycling plant. So there are plugins at different stages, and there is this whole cycle where we have the stages of pre consumer recycling and post consumer recycling. The important part here is this: products made from material reclaimed from the same manufacturing process do not qualify as pre consumer recycled content. So, these are some important aspects to understand and remember while we are talking about, recycled content. And I'll give you an example from the carpet industry, how it helps in contributing to achieving green interiors, and why it is an important consideration when we talk about policy level decisions and standards and documents. How to calculate recycled content? The breakup is usually given in the material specifications, and that is for our benefit and convenience. And there is this simple formula which is, sort of applied. So, this is for reference. I do not expect all of us to be very well versed with equations and formulae and, learn everything uh, by heart. But yeah, this is for reference, and you could definitely use it as and when required. So, this is calculating recycled content. And here there is this example of the carpet. And if we look at this product specification, we will get the information which will be handy in helping us calculating this recycled content. So, we see over here MR credit for recycled content, and this is the specification. 41% pre consumer or post industrial, like we saw, and 27% post consumer. And these are the details, and this is the carpet, and this is how you do the recycle content. So when we apply this formula, this is the calculation. Now there is some percentage of recycled content here, and accordingly one would get credits and consideration while getting their project designated as green certified and responsible and less harmful to the environment. There are some materials which we know popularly, and they have recycled content. So there is plywood, there is gypsum, there is aluminium, carpet, the example we just saw, steel, of also the modular furniture, which is used quite extensively in interior design projects. So recycled content is, it is important to understand it as a concept and also how we actually do the breakup and calculations. So what kind of waste does steel usually have? Post industrial, post consumer, and we saw one cycle in one example. We can calculate this entire recycled content for a project, and we can have this sort of an inventory, and we could put in an order the product, whether it's carpet or aluminium frames, and what is the percentage of post consumer, pre consumer. We calculate the recycled content, and then there is also the calculation of recycled content value out of the total product cost. So if we try to put statistics like this in front of clientele and we try to make them aware of the incentivization, it definitely helps, and it also clears a lot of concepts for the client who may or may not be aware of these technical aspects, who may or may not have any orientation or awareness towards green interiors. So these kinds of calculations and numbers definitely help put up a strong case. Then there is credit 5, and it focuses on regional materials. This is actually very encouraging that there is some value and some kind of consideration for materials which can be procured at a regional level. So, the intent: use locally sourced material to encourage local economy and reduce environmental impact due to transportation. So, we also know, this aspect about embodied energy and why we should try to minimize transporting materials and we should get it from a certain radius, and we talked about that radius, how many kilometers it should be in the previous lecture. The use: so materials and products that are manufactured within 800-kilometer radius, so we have it here also, and it's considered to be a sort of a sustainability radius if we are able to procure materials and products within this radius. Regionally manufactured materials should be at least 20% of the total material cost. Typically, civil materials such as bricks, cement blocks, fly ash blocks, cement are available locally. Other materials include aluminium frames, plywood, laminates, gypsum, which may or may not be available locally. So we have to see within the regional materials, some which are available locally and some are procured from nearby. Then there is credit number 6, rapidly renewable materials, and the intent: reduce the use of finite raw materials. Rapidly renewable materials should comprise of at least 5% of the total material cost. So these are all policy level decisions and standards which are now sort of used as benchmarks for achieving different credits. Rapidly renewable plants are harvested within a 10-year or shorter cycle. This is important. We have to keep this in mind. And there are so many laws related to, procuring timber and related to trees, because there are trees which take hundreds and hundred years to grow, and when they are cut, it disrupts the entire, nature and cycle. So we have to keep in mind the rapidly renewable plants, and they are less harmful for the environment. Some examples of rapidly renewing materials: there is cork, there is bamboo, rubber, there is linoleum, wheat, straw, eucalyptus. So, softwoods like eucalyptus again can be harvested easily. This is one chart that helps us understand this aspect of rapidly renewable materials. So, traditional growth cycle, rapidly renewable resources, harvest cycle. And here we see this line over here, which is the lead definition of rapidly renewable, and it is here at 10 years. So, that's ideally benchmarked according to lead. And here we see different examples. This is cork, this is bamboo, natural rubber, all the examples that we just saw, including linoleum. And if we look at, the pine, wood, the fir, and the forests, it is at least 30 years, which is way beyond this line according to the lead definition. So we have to keep in mind all these important aspects because we are facing a huge crisis. There is climate change and there are lots of issues we are facing. So if we develop an understanding about these important concepts and we understand the existing standards and policy level decisions, I'm sure this can help us take responsible decisions, informed decisions, which have less harm, on the environment. There is also a credit that focuses on using certified wood. The intent: promote environmentally responsible forest management. 50% of all new wood used in the project should comprise of certified wood. So there is this clear rule over here. And this helps in getting credits and green certification. Third party certification such as FSC is required. So that's another important aspect. Now, water savings, they are also important parameters when we talk about, green interiors. Water use reduction, intent: increase water efficiency to reduce burden on municipal water supply and wastewater systems. Reduce building water use by 20% from the baseline. This is very, very crucial. There is anyway, shortage and scarcity of water, and there is a crisis that we all are facing. So these kinds of, important parameters and policy level decisions and standards again help us take informed and responsible decisions. Then, there is this credit which focuses on reducing building water use by 30%, 35%, or even greater than 40%. Whatever we are able to achieve, but at least this much. Now, if we try to understand, some popular fixtures, because we are talking about water savings, and there is the use of water when we talk about WC, urinals, fosse, shower heads, kitchen sink. There is this baseline flow rate that we see over here: liters per flush or liters per minute, and the units you see over here. So these are some baseline rates that are mentioned over here, and we can try to reduce them by selecting proper fixtures which are quite innovative and which keep in mind the water saving aspect as crucial. And through design interventions, the conventional fixtures have anyway being changed these days, so we can try to do that. So if we see over here the design flow rate, which is of course lower than the baseline flow rate, and this is because of the concern for water saving. So this is the kind of reduction over here we see in numbers from 6 to 4, 9.5 to 6.4, and so on. So this is the percentage of water savings which can be achieved. So it's very, very important to concentrate on water savings. And we can see at few places it is significant here, like 73% water savings when we are focusing on urinals, and we are trying to reduce from the baseline flow rate to a low flow rate with the help of proper design interventions and innovative designs. Regarding indoor water reduction, according to LEED, one pre-requirement is to have 20% savings compared to the baseline. So these are again very, very important statistics that help us put things in perspective and, concentrate on savings and less burden on resources and environment. Regarding water budget, so use alternative water, rainwater, treated grey water, reduce the use of potable water. Then there is other criteria, some factors which have not been discussed so far. So here we can talk about acoustic requirements, which are very, very important for indoor spaces and interior design projects. And the thumb rule is the ABC of acoustic design: absorb, block, cover. So we try to create a space or environment acoustic, which has less disturbance, less noise, and appropriate decibel levels, no disturbance to the fellow users, and many other criteria. So, absorbing, for example, by using ceiling tiles, blocking, for example, by using cubicle partitions, and covering, for example, by sound masking. So here is the example of A, using the ceiling tiles or any treatment on the ceiling. Blocking through the cubicle partitions here, if there are two users and there is a cubicle partition, and we are trying to, create less disturbance and create acoustic environment which is favorable to both the users. And then there is some kind of a sound masking. So that creates a conducive environment. Then there is a credit for construction waste management. Ensure waste materials are diverted from the landfill and they can be reused or recycled. So, divert 50% from landfill, that is one way to achieve credits. And then, of course, diverting 75% from the landfill. That's, of course, even better. There is also a very, very important role of materials. There is also a crucial role played by all stakeholders. So, when we talk about architects, predominantly at the design stage, but of course, there are other overlaps and other interactions also at construction stage and occupancy stage. The contractor, predominantly at the construction stage, but yes, there are more interrelationships when we talk about this matrix. And owner, predominantly occupancy stage, but of course the other overlaps as well. So, when we talk about the design stage, it's very, very important to concentrate on material selection, material specification, and the overall cost implication depending on what is the selection criteria. Executing as per the specifications and requirements, material management, construction waste management. So, very important aspects when we talk about material selection. Synergy with environmental factors. So, if we see here energy and atmosphere and certain points which are, allotted to this, and there are lots of important parameters within this. Minimum energy performance, which depends on building facade materials. Optimize energy performance, lighting power. So, daylight, LPD, all of that we saw in lecture number 23. So, there are points assigned for that. Also, lighting controls, HVAC. So, there are so many points which cumulatively create a certain tally, and when we are especially talking about energy and atmosphere. Then there is IEQ, we have been emphasizing on its importance and the possible points. So daylight and views, and within that, what is the glass specification, what kind of glass is being used, what is the percentage of views that is facilitated, and all of those important aspects, they have certain credits and points assigned to that. And it's not only about just picking few things to match the number tally and get certain points. It's also the fundamentals of design. Why would you pick up a certain material? Why would you design something like that? How do you achieve a certain orientation of the building? And all of these hand in hand, along with technical specifications, help us achieve certain credits which demonstrate a very, very sensible, sensitive, responsible design that is, less harmful to the environment. Then, of course, materials and resources. Within that, we have building reuse, materials reuse, furniture and furnishings, and there are certain points which are credited against this. Synergy with operations, storage and collection of recyclables, that also has certain points. Synergy with construction management, construction waste management, very, very important topic of discussion, right now in the current scenario. And there are possible points which are assigned to it. Continuing with this, I would also like to focus on the importance of environmental assessment matrix. I'm not discussing this in detail, it needs another elaborate discussion altogether. But it's very important to, practice this, calculation and development of this matrix for our own understanding as designers when we are working on projects, and also for the benefit of the clientele and for a larger base, especially when we are talking about procuring green certification. So this kind of a matrix really helps, whether it's lighting, wood, flooring, furniture, partitions, other kinds of important materials and systems that are being used. What is the energy saving, water saving, how much is the recycled content, how much is the regional material, and then how much have you reduced on the volatile organic compounds, the IEQ, the thermal comfort, all of that, and then also in terms of costing. So this kind of a matrix does help in, assessing the uh, impact of what we design on the environment, on our surroundings, and how much is the burden on the resources, and how much are we able to actually reduce it. So it's a very healthy, promising, and recommended practice to work with, matrices like this. So all materials have some benefits and some limitations. Understanding a material in its entirety is very, very important at the beginning of the project itself. Developing a sustainability roadmap is helpful to select materials. This is very important. I encourage all the young designers and audiences who are listening to me and who are a part of this course to give this a lot of importance. Prepare a sustainability roadmap for your initiatives and projects. And, sustainability radius, aesthetic sustainability, social sustainability, material sustainability, environmental sustainability. What is your big picture? What is the vision? For whom are you making? What is the life cycle of that project? How can you ensure more returns on investment and reduce burden on resources, and so on? Always remember the function and context of the building. Not all green materials are expensive, so that could be a sort of a myth and something that discourages us from already beginning to incorporate these important aspects in our designs. Right decision taken at the right time can save cost. So I would like to say, present Joshua Becker's quote, the most environmentally friendly product is the one you didn't buy. and it is very, very deep what is written over here. So, lesser the burden on the resources, lesser the burden on the environment, the more sustainable and more responsible we can aspire and showcase to be, demonstrate to be. I will take the summary of this entire week next time and some of the references that could be useful. This is a very important source that I have put on a lot of slides that I showed you, and then there are websites. Thank you so much. See you next time.